Atheist, a bird with no cage, and we're here on May the 4th. I think we agreed it was 2021. And today we're going to be talking about, I'm going to be talking a little bit about something that's basic to what I discuss, you know, to the very basic to the whole idea of this video, the idea that I am an atheist. We call it atheist, a bird with no cage. I am an atheist, and you know, why I'm an atheist, or how I respond to some things that theists say, and all of that. By the way, I'd like to do this, since the last video we did, Jose Luis made a nice birthday, put a birthday greeting kind of on it. It was a birthday song, happy birthday and all that. And it was very nice, but although it's got nothing to do with anything, I'd just like to re-mention that I just turned 81 years of age on April 23rd, so I'm 2 weeks over the 81 years mark. But anyway, as I said, the discussion today is kind of just a discussion of basic ideas, because I was listening to a preacher. I think he refers to himself as a pastor. He is some Christian, I don't know which one, maybe non-denominational. They have different ways of describing themselves. There's thousands of different types of Christians, Pentecostals, and some of the popular ones, and Jehovah's Witness, Catholics. I mean, Catholics and Jehovah's Witness, they get in this argument about whether they're actually real Christians or not, and I don't care if they call themselves Christians. That's good enough for me. I take their word for it. But the idea of taking your word for something is maybe what I'm on about today, because this preacher that I'm listening to basically makes the bold statement that people like me, atheists, actually believe in God, but we claim we don't believe in God, but really what we want to do is we just don't want to have to follow God's orders. Well, that idea is so ridiculous on so many fronts. Is he telling me, is he saying that someone like me, that in my mind I do not have a belief of this God? Is he admitting that that's true, but I'm wrong? Or does he think that I actually believe that there's something? I don't know. Everybody who's ever tried to describe what the hell the God is to me comes up with a huge variety of ideas, but if we go with some kind of basic thing where it's a being that's all-knowing, all-powerful, and all-benevolent, and sometimes they throw in other things, I don't believe that thing as described, as defined, I don't believe that exists in reality. I don't believe it exists anywhere, in any way. It's weird when you get talking to them about reality, they talk about, well, yeah, but your reality is what you think, but you don't know if there's other kind. It gets into some nonsensical things. But what I'm concerned about is this guy claiming that people like me, because he just used the terms atheists, that when we say we're an atheist, we're actually lying. We're not. I think he's arguing that we aren't really atheists. We really do believe in God. What we are is we dislike the idea of God. We dislike authority and that kind of, we're not going to follow orders. We refuse to follow orders. And we're rebellious, I guess. And that doesn't make any sense to me. That's not what I'm doing. Salud. This is vodka. No, it's orange juice actually, but I don't drink. Anyway, so it's kind of a little bit bothersome because it sounds to me that this guy, in fact, maybe he said it clear straight out, that someone like me that says I'm an atheist, I'm lying, according to him. That somehow I actually do believe that this God exists, and maybe I'm being repetitious. The God actually exists, but to hell with him, I'm not going to follow his orders. It's not that. I am convinced, well, the soft atheist position is this. I see no evidence to believe any definition of a deity that I've heard of. You know, it doesn't matter what, whether it's one of the thousands of different types of Christianities, and they all define the God thing, the deity, as in different ways, and use even the ones that follow the Christian Bible, you know, the King James. I've read the Bible. The Old Testament, there's parts of the Old Testament that I've just skimmed through. So if I say that I've read the Bible word for word, it's not quite true. The New Testament, I've read all of it, and either read it or listened to it in auditory forms, you know, several times. And just to clarify again where I am with that Bible reading thing, the first 5 books of the Bible, which is supposedly the, you know, Christians, some of them, not all, they don't all agree. Some of them say those first 5 books, which I don't know if I can say the names: Genesis, Exodus, Deuteronomy, and Numbers, and I'm missing one. Genesis. Do you know the names of the Bibles? That's it. Deuteronomy and Numbers. Those 5 I've read very carefully and with examination and made comments on and on. In other parts of the Old Testament, like I've read all of, I remember one preacher trying to convince me that the one book that was very important was Job. So I certainly read that carefully, maybe read it more than once. And you know, there's other books that I read the whole thing. Ezekiel, I read all of that because it was like, the guy writing that book sounds like he's on an acid trip of some kind, because it's just like, woo, crazier than shit. But anyway, the point is, of what is bothering me with what this guy is saying is the idea, when I say I'm an atheist, he's basically saying, no, you're not. He's basically arguing, it seems to me, he's arguing that nobody's an atheist. Nobody could possibly be an atheist, because how could you not believe that God exists? Well, I do not believe it. I have not seen enough. I've not seen any evidence. One thing I'd like to throw in there. Some theists argue, well, don't you see the wonder of the cosmos, and seeing a beautiful sunset, looked out over the ocean and be awestruck? Yeah, all of that. I am in amazement and wonder at the cosmos, of what it is, as I've said many times, one of the things that totally blows my mind, and I sometimes have trouble accepting the reality of it, is the fact that here we live on this planet Earth, basically a big ball hurtling through space around the sun. We're traveling at 60,000 miles an hour, give or take, which is at least 6 to 10 times the speed of the fastest bullet. You know, I mean, yeah, I'm awestruck by that kind of stuff. It seems really hard to believe, but I do believe it. And, you know, I've come to believe some things that, one of the things that sometimes religious folks claim is that you want to be able to see everything, but seeing and our senses don't always tell us the whole story. Well, I understand that perfectly. Generally day by day, I trust my senses. My vision is really weak, and I miss having normal vision. But my sense of touch and my sense of taste, my sense of smell, my sense of taste, I'm gonna... Right. But at the same time, I mean, I guess with some religious folks, I'm in dead on agreement. We can't always trust, or maybe better said, our senses don't necessarily tell us the whole story. My favorite example of that is, look, I live here in Mexico, and where I live, somewhere about roughly that direction is south. The sun comes up over here in the east. And then the sun, it looks to me like it goes up and up and up, and then in the evening, it goes down over there. I know that that's not right. That's not what's happening. What's happening is the earth that we live on, we are actually turning like this. You know, from here, we're moving in this direction. And so, when we're in this direction, early in the day, the sun is there. And then we move a little bit more, and it looks like the sun is there, etc. The sun goes around us. So, I'm not blind to the idea that in fact, it's part of what science does for us. Science teaches us, don't always trust your senses. We use our senses as part of the process of discovering how things work and everything. But we develop things that can detect realities that our senses can't. That's how come we discover that germ theory, for instance, because we develop microscopes which can actually allow us to see things that are way too small for our normal vision to see. We develop telescopes so that we can look at things that are way too far away for us to see with our normal vision. So in a way, we're still using our senses a lot, but have ways of expanding on them. I notice that I like to make my videos short, like only 15 to less than 20 minutes. Some of the early ones are longer, but if you get bored with them, okay. But anyway, the whole point is this idea that some religious folks, not all. I've talked to religious people that understand the idea. You don't believe that this thing exists, and yes, they do. And then we can have a conversation. What I want to know, because if it's true, I want to understand it. I want to believe it. I want to believe as many true things as possible and not believe any false things, or believe as few false things as possible. So if the religious folks can tell me, just to explain to me why you believe, and if they're convinced by it, if it's that convincing, maybe it'll convince me too. Wow, I'm happy to go with that. That doesn't end the problem, because if it turns out this God that the Christian folks are talking about turns out to be the God of the Bible, and that's an accurate description of him, it, or whatever you want to call the deity, that would be the beginning of the adventure, because man, I got a lot of questions for that deity if it happens to exist. Fortunately, I'm very, very sure that it doesn't exist. Can't prove it, doesn't matter. Anyway, the whole point made me want to make this video is the idea that some people, religious folks, can't believe that I and people like me, people who call themselves atheists, actually do not believe that the God exists. We're not mad at the God. We don't dislike the God. We're not pissed off at the rules this imaginary God makes or anything like that. We don't believe it exists. And that's the whole story. Thanks. I'm Ed. Thanks for watching. See you on another one.